Hey there, Megan Jansen here with Employee Wellness Solutions Network. I'm still on a year-long mission talking to so many influencers, motivators, speakers, authors, presenters, people who have a passion in sharing what they know about employee and corporate health and wellness. Today, we're talking mindfulness, and I have the pleasure of tracking down a very busy man, Mike Masse, aka Mindful Mike.
Yeah.
Welcome, and I'm so excited to jump into this very hot topic with you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm stoked.
Mike, how did you get into the study and the passion and the practice of mindfulness?
Yeah, I got into mindfulness about 10 years ago. I was a social worker. I'm a trained social worker, and it was my time at Children's Aid. I was 25, legal guardian of 19 kids, completely burnt out. You know, at 25, I kept joking with my wife that I wanted to be a stay-at-home dad with no kids because I was completely spent from empathy fatigue. You know, I'd go into work, I would constantly be at work. On my drive to work, I lived in Barrie, I had an hour commute. I'd be in my head the entire time thinking, okay, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Trying to get all my ducks in line. I would go to work for those 7 or 8 hours, or, you know, sometimes long hours, 12-hour days. On my way home, I'm trying to process what happened. And I found that, you know, not only was my weight was affected, I was almost, 290 pounds or so. I didn't have any healthy tools on how to work with my stress. And I found that, working 50 or 60 hours a week, I was also working easily another 20 or 30 hours a week at home in my mind. I'd be checking my email on a Sunday with my wife. I'd be watching football. I'd check my email and be like, okay, what am I going into on Monday, to think that that would help me? And then I would all of a sudden just be at work on a Sunday, not getting paid for it and being worried, which would cause anxiety, frustration. So I got into yoga. Someone recommended yoga. And then when we're laying down in Shavasana, I started to notice my mind wasn't ahead of I'm super future oriented. So my head wasn't there. It was actually in the here. So another friend suggested, well, maybe you should try this mindfulness thing. And I was like, okay, cool. So, being my background and I love studying research and I love data. So I looked at, okay, mindfulness can change the brain. Great. I'm going to do this kind of thing and zen out. And that really wasn't what I found. I found that it's like this crazy workout for your mind. And so I had this on again, off again relationship for like 3 years with it.
So what actually is mindfulness?
So what mindfulness is I teach it as a systematic training of your brain. It's literally training your mind to be present. Mindfulness it's great right now because it's blowing up, and I've been teaching it, full time for 7 years, teaching it 10 years. But the issue with mindfulness is many people are teaching mindfulness who don't meditate, which is like me trying to teach you, how to work out at the gym without working out. Right? What mindfulness is purposely paying attention to one thing. So that one thing can be like your breath. So we're watching our breath, and then all of a sudden my mind goes to my 4 o'clock talk today. And I go, okay, that's a thought. Let's come back to my breath. We're watching the breath. You've a thought about, oh, I have that report to do or that invoice to do. Yep, that's a thought. We'll deal with that later. Come back to the breath. So what I like to teach people is that it's no different than going to the gym and doing repetition with the biceps or with the chest. We're doing reps. Every rep you do, your mind goes away and comes back. It strengthens your mind muscle. The more reps you do, the stronger your mind literally gets at being present.
Wow. I think that would be effective and helpful for anybody, because
anyone.
Because we talk about workplace, family, stress, all of it.
Right.
Our to-do lists, as yours was, just continues to grow. And is there, how does mindfulness become helpful with this never-ending list of things to do? And can we be more efficient with our time if we start to practice some of these things you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. So most people, well, I would say all people I work with, I do about 250 to 300 workshops a year.
Wow.
Only with busy people. I currently work with about 10 hospitals. I work with about 12 to 15 school boards, with people who are just busy. All the people I see privately in my office, all busy. Either VPs or work in sales, or I see a lot of physicians, nurses. none of them have hours of time to just sit and try to clear their mind, which is what most people think meditation is.
That's what we
It is.
think, you know,
It
because
is.
as you said initially, is that like time that it takes to do, and sometimes it's easy to not to do it.
Oh, and it's even easier for, I have 2 young boys.
Mhm.
It's easy for me to be with them physically, but not to be with them at all. You know, you and I own our own business.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Right? Like you and I own our own business. You know, we're successful in what we do. I'm on this thing, right? I can be with my humans who I love physically, but not with them at all presently. You know,
What
to
a
me, this,
great point. Yeah.
and to me, this is the issue, right? Most of us are just not here in the now, right? We are ahead of the game, and we live in this culture that we think that produce like uh, if we do more and work harder, it is like better, 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 and it never ends. So
Mm-hmm.
this never ending to-do list literally never ends. Like my main teacher says, our mind is like a sawmill with an infinite amount of logs just coming through. So you're worried about, you know, I just finished 12 hours of workshops over 2 days. That was like on my plate for, I would say, a week coming up, because it was a new group and physicians and, you know, and a hospital. And I was thinking about it, and I was planning for it. But there's a difference between planning and living in the future,
Mm.
right? So if I'm planning, let's do something practical. We're planning going Disney World, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we could go to Europe for the same cost, which is my wife and I, right? Which is what she wants.
Yeah, this is true.
This is what she wants to do with the kids, right?
Yeah.
So if I go, okay, I need to plan and book tickets. I need to plan and book a hotel, and we have to like kind of sketch out our day.
Yeah.
But if I go, well, my youngest doesn't really, I mean, what if he doesn't like this, or if they want to do this instead, and I start creating unnecessary anxiety, not very efficient use of my time and energy.
Right.
Right? You know, the most classic example I use of, you know, how you asked to be efficient with our time is not wasting your energy and your mind.
Wow.
So an example would be this. When I worked at Children's Aid,
Mm-hmm.
my manager said, Mike, I need to see you at 9:30. Or sorry, at 9:30, she said, I need to see you at 4:30.
Mm.
Right away, my mind goes where?
Yeah.
4:30.
The worry of 4:30.
Exactly.
What's going to happen? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Not like, oh, I'm going to be promoted. I must be really like killing it in my first 3 months of being a social worker. It was like, okay, I go to cover my butt mode. And then I go, okay, what did I do wrong? So I just go through my files. Like, did I have this? Did I have this in check? All the medicals in check? Did I miss a visit? And I couldn't find anything. Right. So then I asked my team, hey, what's going on? You know, Deb wants to meet with me. They're like, I have no idea. That makes my anxiety worse.
For sure.
Statistically
It's
speaking,
almost like the unknown, and
it
you're
is.
in your mind worrying about every negative
Exactly.
circumstance that, you know, could happen.
It's called negative brain bias. So our mind errs to negativity 83% of the time.
I've heard that.
Okay.
We're wired negatively.
Yeah, and that's for survival reasons. So
Yeah.
my mind goes there. I'm worrying the whole day, and I am like sweating and anxious and thinking my wife's gonna be really PO'd when I go home and don't have this job, because I was in my 3-month probation. So I go in at 4:30, and she says, "Close the door." Anxiety spikes. I'm like, "Okay, this is happening, right?" And then she asks me if I can go to a surprise birthday party for one of our teammates, and I'm like, "You couldn't what?" And I'm like, "You couldn't email me this?" And she's like, "Why are you so upset?" Like, I was worrying the entire day. What did I do wrong? And she's like, "What did you do wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. You paid me $30 an hour to find out, but I couldn't find anything." And then I went on with my day like it was nothing. You know, when you are at work with somebody, or when someone says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" Your mind's going to start making up reasons why.
Yeah.
What I like to work with, and this simple technique that we can use with anyone like if they watch this video, the now, is not to ask why, but what. So what was I experiencing? Fear. What was I experiencing? Worry. If I say why, then we're in big trouble, because I'm like, well, maybe it's because this, maybe because it's this.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like, because I work with fairly busy people,
Mm-hmm.
I like to give them a couple of quick exercises that they can use to have an impact on their life.
Yeah, I love that.
So most people drive to work, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? I work with people in Vancouver. I work with people all over the world. But let's say I have a client who works in Vancouver, takes transit. 25 minutes every day, she's on the transit. To and from. That's 50 minutes. I suggest that 15 minutes of her day, she listens to one of my guided meditations. That time is already built into her day. If you wake up at 5:45 every morning, the chance of you waking up at 5:15 to get a meditation in is very slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are driving from one meeting to the next and you drive in silence and are purposely paying attention to your breath for 3 minutes with your eyes open, obviously, as you're driving, and your mind goes off to the meeting and what's going to happen, we come back to that breath, that literally gives you this like calming effect.
Wow. So focusing, really like focusing on your breath is one of the
Right.
first things anybody can do
Yes.
without thinking about what's next. It's
Right.
just
Now your mind's going to say what's next.
yes.
But then you're going to notice that as a thought and then steer it back to the breath. That's that repetition. So many people I work with in sales, I work with a lot of people in sales. I do a lot of work in corporate Toronto too. And there's a week before this big sales pitch or when their quarter's coming up, they start working it up in their mind. There's nothing wrong with prepping your mind with what might happen, but staying in there for the next week or so is a complete waste of energy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So before they go into a big call, take 3 minutes and recognize, okay, right now I'm a little fearful. Right now I'm a little worried. Right now I'm a little amped up. And do a little check-in of simply what I say to people, and it's on my website as well, mindfulmike.ca, all for free. You go on, you do a physical, emotional, mental check-in. What does that look like? Well, I go, let's say you and I have this big meeting. I go in, I notice that I'm physically feeling a little exhausted. So I'm just going to note that.
Mm-hmm.
I do another brief scan. What am I feeling right now emotionally? Okay, right now emotionally I feel a little anxious. What does that feel like? I can feel my chest, my heart maybe up a little bit. And then I go mentally, my mind is going to the future. You noticing that isn't going to change that experience. What it's going to do is not going to make it worse. It's something we call radical acceptance. So starting with your breath and simply just noticing in this moment, you are here and your mind is going to the past or to the future. But I think most people that we work with, very future oriented.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You notice that as a future thought and then you come back. Why is that important? After you leave the bench or the meditation or wherever you're doing it, if you do this enough, you can use it in life. When you're at a meeting with somebody and your mind's trying to forecast what they're going to say and then what you're going to say, you can notice that as future thinking and come back to what you're actually doing in the now. And I find this to be a secret hack in business because people can, when you're present, people can feel it.
Oh, absolutely. And you can also feel if people are totally distracted.
Totally.
Like absolutely.
Totally.
If their phone is beside them or if
absolutely
it's dinging in the background or
if I'm like, hey, how was your vacation?
Pardon?
Right? If I'm like, how was your vacation? And I'm doing this, I'm like waiting to jump in and tell you how my vacation was. Most people aren't listening.
Yeah.
You can see like, yeah, I'm trying to jump in here.
Yeah.
You can note that it naturally happens with self. I catch myself hundreds of times a day, catching myself not being present. But the trick is, as soon as you witness you are not present, you're present.
Interesting. So that's really the whole concept of being mindful is in the
Exactly.
present.
It's not roses and daisies. People pitch it like, oh, you're going to be so calm and you're going to be so relaxed. And the reality is you're not.
Yeah.
You're going to notice that your mind is busy. You're going to notice that you're thinking of the future, but you have the tool set to bring it back.
Awesome.
What is actually happening.
And as you said earlier, it's the practice of this will make that muscle, the mind muscle, even better doing it.
Yeah, it's the gym for the mind. That's how I look at it.
Amazing. I could pick your brain all day long. Do you have any final thoughts as we need a part B of this interview for sure.
Okay, cool.
But do you have any final thoughts as we tie up this segment?
Yeah, subtle is significant.
Ooh,
so a little bit of practice goes a long way. This isn't a mortgage payment. If you miss your practice today, you can't just like make up for it and pay it tomorrow. But my rule of thumb is I never, and I haven't in 10 years, missed 2 days in a row. So 5 minutes here, 3 minutes here. Most people think you have to have this like marathon sit every day. Not the case. Wake up in the morning, go on my website, do the gratitude check-in. 4 minutes long. You have 4 minutes. Don't lie. We all have 4 minutes. You probably spend 70 times that just doing this on your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people, waste so much time with that.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 minutes, start your day. Doing 4 minutes, 3 days in a row, not going to change anything. Mm-hmm. 3 months, significant impact on how you're training your mind. So you can actually be here. Personally speaking, The whole point of me having my practice, I actually find meditation super boring, to be honest with you, but I do it because I love what meditation has brought me. You know, my ability to handle my emotions in a helpful, positive way. You know, to not react, to have a response. You say something and make me frustrated or upset, old me comes at you. New me, this present me is like, okay, how do I want to respond? Then I'll say something. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
There's always
We'll get my wife in for the next interview. But
yeah, pardon me.
you know, I always, my wife and I have been together for since we're 16, so 21 years. Okay.
Wow.
I ask my wife all the time, what mic do you like better, this mic or old mic? And she goes, oh, for sure this mic. Right? This is not, I'm, you know, not a guru. I literally just practice, and then I teach people from my experience. And I believe that's why I'm fairly successful in what I do, because I don't BS you. You just got to show up and press play, even if you think it's not going to work.
Amazing. Mike,
Cool.
Mindful Mike,
You got it.
just awesome. Thank you so much for your insights and your thoughts and tips and strategies. I think it's so helpful, and I'm, for one, am going to become a new student of mindfulness. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.